Let me ask you something you probably don't ask yourself enough. When you think about your future, do you see the person you're becoming or do you only see the person you have been? We get so used to replaying our past that we forget we're allowed to imagine a new version of ourselves. Not a fake persona, not a performance, not a healed aesthetic that is just outside. I'm talking about the real self that's emerging inside you, the real one, the one who moves with more peace, more wisdom, more boundaries, more love, more true. But here's the problem: if you're stuck in guilt, if you're stuck in shame, if you're stuck in I should have known better, you will struggle to see yourself as becoming anything but the same. So today we're changing that because this is day 22 of our self forgiveness journey, and we're shifting our gaze from what I was to who I'm becoming. Hello, hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome back. If you have stayed with me through all these days, through the heavy truths, through the tears and the journal prompts and the mirror moments, I want you to hear this. You're already changing. Whatever you feel it or not, whatever you fully believe it or not, whatever your outside life has caught up yet or not, the fact that you're still here, still listening, still willing to look at yourself honestly, that is transformation in motion. So today episode, day 22, I call it the self I'm becoming. This episode is very important, so important, because forgiveness is not just about making peace with your past. It's also about making room for your future. So I want to do this one because my own healing, I spent a long time stuck between I, I'm not who I used to be and I'm not yet who I want to be. That in between can feel confusing, but it's also sacred. By the end of this episode, I want you to feel more connected to your becoming, to have language, vision, and intention for the self you are growing into. We're going to explore what becoming really means. I will share how I started to see my own becoming, and I will guide you through some practical ways to embody the new you today. So, let's talk about when I say the self I'm becoming. I'm not talking about imaginary perfect version of you. You know, the one that never gets triggered, never made mistakes, always say the right thing, never cries in the bathroom, is always confident, always peaceful, always glowing. Yeah, not her. That not becoming. That's a fantasy. That self you're becoming is more honest, more aligned, more grounded, more kind to herself, more aware of the patterns, more intentional with her choices, more willing to walk away from what hurts her, more rooted in her worth. She still feels things. She still has bad days. She still has moments where all habits knock on the door. But she doesn't abandon herself as quickly. She doesn't betray herself as easily. She recovers faster. She chooses differently, even if it still feels scary. Why? Why does this matter for self forgiveness? Because if you only see yourself through the lens of who you were, you will keep relating to yourself as if you're stuck there. You will say, that's just who I am. I always mess things up. I can never get it right. I'm just broken. But the truth is, you are not just the self you were, you are also the self you are becoming. And you need to start talking to yourself like someone who has a future. So let me ask you these questions. Who could you become if you stop repeating the story that you are damaged? Who you could become if you believe that your healing is real? Who you could become if you saw your growth as valid, even if it's small? Who you who could you become if you gave yourself permission to change? This is not about pretending who you are already there. This is about honoring that you are on your way. And let me bring this down to my story for a minute. For a long time, my identity was wrapped up in my patterns. This girl, this woman that who need attention, the woman who kept choosing the same kind of pain, the one who ignored her needs, the one who always put other first even when it hurt her, the one who apologized for assistance. I knew my broken version like the back of my hand. I knew it. And even when I started healing, even when I started setting boundaries, even when I started saying no, even when I started walking away, in my head, I still saw myself as the old me, trying to pretend she had changed. It was always my transformation had to prove itself before I believed it was real. Then one day, I had a moment. And it was in a situation where in the past I would have automatic like shrunk, stay quiet, or choosing someone else's comfort over my own truth. But this time I didn't. I spoke up. My voice trembled, but I spoke. I honored my boundaries. I didn't over explain. I didn't beg to be understood. I chose me. Later that night, I sat alone and it hit me. That was not the old me. That was the self I was becoming. And that wild thing, I almost miss it. We notice our failures so loudly, but we almost never stop and say, wow, I handled that differently. That was new. That was growth. In that moment, I started to realize I'm not just the sum of my old patterns. I'm also the woman practicing new ones. The transformation moment for me was this. I made a quiet decision to stop saying, I'm trying to be different, and start saying, I'm becoming different. That small shift in language gave my healing somewhere to land. I'm trying. Still feel like maybe I failed. I'm becoming. Honor that I was already in motion. And from that point on, I made it a habit to notice even the small shift. When I ask for help instead of suffering in silence, when I retest, or let's put it like that, when I rested instead of pushing through, when I say no and I didn't apologize 10 times, when I cry instead of numbing, when I walk away from what I didn't felt right, even if I still love it. Thus were not little things. Thus were proof. Proof that I knew me was emerging, not a fake me, but a truer one. So let's walk it out together. Today is about owning your becoming, not someday, not when you are fixed, just now. So I'm going to give you some steps that will help you. And step number one, name who you are becoming. Get your journal, your notes app, or your scrap of paper. Write this at the top. The self I'm becoming is. So now describe her. Not in fantasy terms, but in character terms. For example, she's honest with herself. She say no without hating herself. She listens to her body. She doesn't chase people. She speak up when something doesn't feel right. She forgive herself faster. She chooses peace over chaos. She respects her own time and energy. This is your blueprint. Step number two, look for current evidence. Now ask yourself, where is she already showing up in my life? Don't say nowhere. That's the shame talking. Think about a recent choice you made that you're all you wouldn't have. A conversation where you were more honest. A moment where you didn't abandon yourself. A time you took care of your mental health. A time you caught yourself before repeating an old pattern. Write this down. I saw her when I blank blank blank. I felt her when I blank blank blank. I noticed her when I blank blank blank. This shows your brain I'm already becoming her. And that's what we're looking for. So, step number three, choose one small behavior that aligns with her. The self you're becoming is not just an idea. She show up in action. Ask, what is one thing she will do that I can do today? Maybe she will go to bed early. Maybe she will drink water instead of stress scrolling. Maybe she will tell the truth instead of saying I'm fine. Maybe she will say no to a favor she doesn't have capacity for, or she don't want to do it. Maybe she will take 10 minutes to journal. Maybe she will make the therapy call. Pick one thing, not 10, just one. And do it today as an act of agreement with who you are becoming. Step number four, shift your self talk. And this is what sometimes we get hooked to it. Start catching phrases like, I'm such a mess. I'll never change. This is who I am. These are self talks that we need to shift. And gently, we're going to replace them with I am work in progress. It, when you step talk and say, I'm such a mess, you're going to say, I'm a work in process. When you cut yourself saying, I will never change, you say, I'm learning. So when you cut yourself saying, this is just who I am, you gently is going to replace with, I'm becoming someone new. We are not lying to ourselves. We're speaking to that direction we are headed, not just the pit we crawled out of it. Step five, bless that in between. You might feel like I'm not who I was, but I'm not fully who I want to be. That space can feel awkward, but it also sacred. Place your hand on your chest and say, I bless the version of me that is in process. I don't have to be finished to be valuable because you don't. So, what happened when you start honoring the self you're becoming? First, you relate to yourself with more hope. Instead of looking at yourself as a problem to fix, you see yourself as a story unfolding. That's going to bring softness, is it brings patience, it brings hope. Number two, you make different choices. When you identify as someone who is becoming healthier, your action begin to align with that identity. You're less likely to tolerate what doesn't match your future self. Number three, you forgive yourself faster. Why? Because you understand I'm learning, I'm growing. It's okay that I'm not perfect. I'm in motion. You stop expecting yourself to heal overnight. Number four, you attract and choose differently. The more you embody the self you're becoming, the more you naturally drift away from people and situations that are only compatible with your old self. You don't even have to make big announcement. Your energy shifts, your standards shift, and your life begins to adjust. Number five, you feel less stuck in your past. When you focus on who you're becoming, your past is still part of your story, but it's not the headline. It becomes a chapter, not your whole identity. Let's land this. You are not just the person who did those things, who stayed too long, who didn't know better, who made mistake, who numb it, who tolerate less than she deserve. You are also the person who wake up, who listen to that talk in her spirit, who press play on this journey, who show up for herself, who is choosing day by day to do better. That is the self you're becoming. She's not a stranger. She's not an invention. She is you with more truth, more love, more wisdom, more boundaries, more grace. So here's your day 22 affirmation. Put your hands in your chest and you're going to say, I'm not stuck in who I was. Every day, in small and real ways, I'm becoming more of who I'm meant to be. Say it again. I am becoming more of who I'm meant to be. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all figured out. You don't. You don't have to see the whole path. You don't. You don't just have to keep walking. You don't. Thank you, my beautiful soul, for sitting with me in this moment of becoming. I hope today's episode remind you that your story is still unfolding and you are allowed to grow, to shift, to evolve, to outgrow rooms that once felt like home. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who is trying to reinvent themselves but feels stuck in who they used to be. Make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss the final days of this 28 days of self forgiveness journey. And if you want more tools, journaling prompts, and support for the self you're becoming, come visit me at www.waitofthewiseowl.com. I love you guys. Like always, I see the growth in you. Even on the days you can see it yet, I see it. Until tomorrow, honor who you were, love who you are, and make room for who you are becoming. Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Be blessed. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. Bye.